Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling evening. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1920. We're entering the 1920s. The Love to Read book club review. So today we had our book review. We had our book club discussion about October's book of the month, which was Rachel Caine's Stillhouse Lake. It was a very difficult book review to do simply because we had people on there who had purchased the book but hadn't yet read it. They'd only read the summary of the book. Then we had somebody that was halfway through. So there's a lot of stuff I couldn't talk about or we couldn't discuss because I didn't want to spoil any of the twists and turns coming up. I didn't want to spoil things for people. So it was a very interesting discussion on having that. But it was, I have to tell you, it was a great read. And it was told, and first it's told, and actually I'll just read you the back of it so you get the gist. The killing didn't stop when they caught her husband. Gina Royal is the definition of the average, a shy Midwestern housewife with a happy marriage and two adorable children. But when a car accident reveals her husband's secret life as a serial killer, she must remake herself as Gwen Proctor, the ultimate warrior mom. With her ex now in prison, Gwen has finally found refuge in a new home on the remote Stillhouse Lake, and that's somewhere in Tennessee, and it's got to be somewhere near Knoxville because that's the closest airport. It was mentioned in the book. Though still the target of stalkers and internet trolls who think she had something to do with her husband's crimes, Gwen dares to think that her kids can finally grow up in peace. But just when she's starting to feel at ease in her new identity, a body turns up in the lake, and threatening letters start arriving from an all too familiar address. Gwen Proctor must keep friends close and enemies at bay to avoid being exposed, or watch her kids fall victim to a killer who takes pleasure in tormenting her. One thing is for certain, she learned how to fight evil and she'll never stop. And it was really good. It was all told from Gwen's perspective, and how the car accident they refer to is right there in the prologue at the very beginning. Her husband can't pick the kids up from school like he's supposed to, so he calls and asks if she can go do that. She's gone from the house from all of 30 minutes to go pick up her kids. She comes home, and all of a sudden there's police cars and everything all around her house, and there's this SUV that has plowed into the garage of her home. And when it plowed in, it pulled apart some of the garage, and there's this body hanging in the garage. And that's how she discovers her husband's secret life. And as you're reading through the book, you find out how he was able to manipulate her to not going into the garage. And I will tell you, if it was me, I would have gone and looked in that garage. Like, he had blocked off the door from the kitchen into the garage. He had completely closed that off. He had closed off the front of the garage so it couldn't be opened. The only way to get in was through a side door of the garage, and he had the only key to it. So I sort of thought, okay, wouldn't you get a little suspicious about what he's doing in there? But anyway, so the story goes, it's all told from her perspective, and she takes her protecting the kids. She's mama bear. She is a real mama bear. She is so protective of her kids, and is doing all this training and stuff that she can do to protect her kids, to make sure that they have this good life. She goes onto the dark web, finds stuff that's being said about her. She keeps files on it, and all sorts of things. And there's some strange people that she asks help from. I actually kind of want to read the second book now. But it is a complete novel within this, but it does leave things open that there could be a second book. Now, I know that this is book one in a series. I don't know how long the series is. I don't even think they mention it in here about the other books that she has written on it. That's her song list. She actually what's really cool is in the back of the book, the author puts a soundtrack, like all the music that she listened to while she says, I choose music for each book I write to help guide me through the intense process. And Stillhouse Lake presents an interesting exercise in finding just the right groove to help propel Gwen through this tense story. And then she's got all of the songs that she listened to, along with the singers, the groups and the singers and everything else. And she said, she even puts it, and she says, I hope you enjoy the musical experience as much as I did. And please remember, piracy hurts musicians, and music aggregation services don't provide a living. Buying the song or album direct is still the best way to show your love and help the artist create new work. I thought that was brilliant that she put it in there. But she has, and it goes on to the next page as well. She has a list there of all the songs that she listened to during the thing. I thought that's really cool. And she's only the second or third author where I have found in the back in their book that they have put, this is what I listened to while writing this book. This is what gave me, this is where I got the inspiration from. This helped me through this time. This helped me through that time. And so they put the list of songs. And some books where they mention different songs and stuff, they actually have a song list at the back of the book so that you can go and get the songs if you want to get them. And some of them on that come in Kindle, they actually have a link that will take you to like Spotify so that you can listen to the different songs and things in there as well. So keep an eye out for those things. Keep an eye out for those things because some of them have really good music that go with the books. And I didn't think to look in the back of the book to see if there was a playlist until I got to the last page and turned it over, and there's there's a playlist here. I read that last page of the book, and then on the other page was the soundtrack, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was there. Okay, so, but with what we had a good discussion, but like I said, it was really hard couldn't dive deep into some areas because it would have given away plot twists and turns and given away stuff that the person who was partway through reading the book hadn't read yet, so I didn't want to spoil it for them. But the other ones kind of dropped off throughout the thing, and then I was left talking with one who had half read the book, and so she was going, I don't understand why this, I don't understand why that. And I go, keep reading. I said, it will explain itself, just keep reading. She's like, okay. So she was eager and excited to find out what our next book is. I'm super excited about this book. How did I find this book? Because somebody actually asked me how I choose the book. So this is my process for choosing the books. I'm looking on Amazon bestsellers. I look on Goodreads for bestsellers on Goodreads. I look on those. I'm active in Goodreads. I'm active with my reviews on Amazon as well. I'm always in there. I'm always looking, what are the top, like in thrillers, what are the top 10 thriller books, and mysteries, what are the top 10 mysteries, and fiction, what is the top 10 just general fiction books. I'm always looking for those top lists, and I'm trying to pick stuff out of the top 10 or 20, and I'm trying to mix up the genres as well so that I'm not always reading one particular genre. So we did The Housemaid, which was a mystery thriller. This one was a psychological thriller, all told from the woman's perspective. So when she gets letters from certain people, you get to see her feedback, her reaction to what she's receiving. You don't get into the mind of her ex-husband, who was the serial killer, but you kind of get glimpses of him through her. So that's kind of interesting to see her perspective of what he was like, giving her perspective of what he was like and how he had fooled her and all of this sort of thing. And so my process is looking through what are the top books in different genres so that I can then go pick the next one. And this one, the one that we're picking for reading in November that we're going to talk about on December the 7th is one that I found on both the Amazon top list and the Goodreads top list. And I went and read all the reviews and everything else. And thankfully people do check if it's a spoiler alert. So it actually hides the comment. It actually hides on Goodreads. It hides the review if it contains spoilers, so that people can then have the option, if they want to read it, to go and then read the comment. And they click on the comment and it will show them the comment. But if you check the little box when you're writing a review to say that says spoiler alert, it will put their spoiler alert for the comments, and you click on it if you want to read further. That way, anybody scrolling through the reviews are not suddenly coming across a spoiler alert or somebody that's put asterisk, spoiler alert, asterisk, that sort of thing. The book we're going to be reading next month, or this coming month in November, we're going to be reading November to talk at the beginning of December on December 7th, always the first Saturday of the month at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Anybody's free to come and join us. It's open, it's free. We have on Eventbrite, we have the event listed there. So as soon as you register, it then takes you to the link, it then gives you the Zoom link to come and join us. But this one is inspired by true story. This next one is inspired by true stories. It was, inspired by true events. So I was kind of like, ooh, inspired. I like books that are inspired by true events, because sometimes you can you come across different events and you're like, oh, that would make a really good story. I wonder what the whole thing is. And then you're trying to think, well, how would I write it as true? So if you write it as fiction, you got a little bit of leeway in there. You got some wiggle room. Whereas if you're writing it as a nonfiction book, you don't have a lot of wiggle room. You got to be right on your facts and everything else, unless you go, in my opinion. But if you're writing it as fiction, you can put your opinion in there and create it as a fiction story, and put that it's inspired on true events. So you've come across these true events, you use that as the basis of your story, and then you create the stories about the people. Whether or not it's true to the stories that you create about the people, it doesn't matter, because you're creating stories based on true events. You'll change the character names, the people involved, you'll change their names and things like that, so that you can then make it your story. But you can put that it was inspired on true events. And there's been some movies out there that have been inspired on true events, and there was one that they had that came out years ago, and I knew about I knew when I read what it was about, I knew all the stuff about it, because it had been all across the news in New Zealand. It was an event that happened in New Zealand. It had been all across the news in there, and I watched the movie of it, and I was sort of like, yeah, they may have loosely based it on true events, but because it had there the whole timeline of how it all happened and everything else. They interviewed the people that were involved in this incident. The main hero of the story doesn't like the media, didn't want to be involved with the media or anything else. They managed to get some information out of him, but not a lot. So it was based on people that he worked with that were giving their accounts of what happened, so that people could get the whole story of what happened. And this guy just basically cut himself. We went into hiding for a while. I haven't changed my thingamybobs. Oh, well, that's no good. Hang on. Oh, that's because I haven't announced the next one, have I? Dill brain. Yeah, I got to change this while we're on the fly here. I know I've changed it and I've put it out on I've put it out on Facebook and all of that sort of stuff, but I haven't changed the QR code up the top corner there. So let's do that while we're on the fly here. Totally forgot I had to do that. I knew that I was changing everything. I was like, no, there's somewhere else I have to change. There's somewhere else I have to change it. And do you think I could think about where I had to change it? Absolutely not. Hang on, I need to hide that. Cancel that, hide that, change this, put that there, change this. I don't know if this is all going to fit there. It only does a leading character. Let's try this. Only allows you 18 characters. Oh, it's 1 mix over. We're putting it up there as it is. So our book next month, the book we're going to be reading this month, like I said, based on true stories, it is trying to figure out how to make this one character less. All right, let's take a space. We're taking a space out, so please excuse the spelling error. We're going to be doing The Lost Girls of Paris. And this is a book based on true events. And I also need to go change down here. Sorry. Saturday, December 7th. Oops, 7th. Save. Show. Yes. Okay, so we're going to be reading The Lost Girls of Paris by Pam Jenoff. This sounds a really cool book. It came out in 2019, and this is inside the jacket. We're going to read what's inside the jacket here. It says, 1946 Manhattan. One morning, while passing through Grand Central Terminal on her way to work, Grace Healy finds an abandoned suitcase tucked beneath a bench. Unable to resist her own curiosity, Grace opens the suitcase where she discovers a dozen photographs, each of a different woman. In a moment of impulse, Grace takes the photographs and quickly leaves the station. Grace soon learns that the suitcase belonged to a woman named Eleanor Trigg, the leader of a network of female secret agents who were deployed out of London during the war. 12 of these women were sent to occupied Europe as couriers and radio operators to aid the resistance, but they never returned home. Their fate's a mystery. Setting out to learn the truth behind the woman in the photographs, Grace finds herself drawn to a young mother-turned-agent named Marie, whose daring mission overseas reveals a remarkable story of friendship, valor, and betrayal. Vividly rendered and inspired by true events, New York Times bestselling author Pam Jenoff shines a light on the incredible heroics of the brave woman of the war and weaves a mesmerizing tale of courage, sisterhood, and the great strength of women to survive in the hardest of circumstances. When I read that blurb, I was like, we're reading this. I'm getting this. I got this book on sale too at the time. It was during a Prime, one of the Prime days or something, but they had this one on sale like 50% off. So I grabbed it. It's here. And somebody asked me how many pages there are. I've got to go to the last page here. There is 359 pages. Then you have the author's note, the acknowledgements. You have questions for discussion, which I thought was really cool that were in there. And then it gives you an extended excerpt from the woman of blue with the blue star, which was her new spellbinding tale of survival in the time of World War II. So that's the last, this last bit of pages here. But yeah, so it's going to be, and what I like about this, it's got the rough edges on it. I like the rough edge books. It makes it feel like it's been well read and worn and loved and everything else. But yeah, The Lost Girls of Paris, this is going to be our book that we're reading this month, and we're going to discuss it on December the 7th at 9 a.m. Pacific. So if you want to come join us, go scan the code up here to grab the book so you've got the whole month to read it, and then go to Eventbrite to enroll, come discuss the book with us. This is going to be a really cool book to discuss, because as I find, this is going to be one of those books that when I'm reading it, if they mention events and something, I'm going to go look them up. So anyway, that's it from us for tonight. Go out, have a super fantastic